Tēnā koutou katoa, nā mihi nui. So welcome everyone, welcome to this wonderful interview with Marissa Lewis. Welcome, Marissa.
Kia ora everybody.
And I'm your host, Carmelle Riley of Manifestors Unite. I am so excited to be joined with Marissa. Actually really humbled and blessed as well, because she is an inspiration to us as wahine Mauri. Marissa's heart-centered Māori wahine mama. She's on a mission to see other women step into their confidence and self-leadership, experiment with their creativity and ideas, and reclaim their financial independence and live a beautiful life. She has survived drug and alcohol addiction, self-harm, a mass overdose, domestic violence, teen pregnancy and bullying. Kind of amazing you're still here, actually, Marissa. It's pretty, that's a rap sheet.
Oh, yeah.
And really these inform her passion. That's how she can connect with other wahine, because she knows what we've been through.
Indeed.
And Marissa's used that. She's used that with over 20 years of experience in marketing, sales and communications, boss babe, and brings a diverse skill set to the table. However, she left the corporate world and returned to school at age 33. She joined a network marketing company, became a qualified yoga instructor. She's known as a motivational personal trainer. She runs women's boot camps and has gradually grown her own business. Now living in Auckland, she's the author of two, not just one, two self-help books, From Strength to Strength and Just Do It. She's a podcast host, an inspirational speaker, and one of our country's most popular business and empowerment coaches. She has a mission though, this is an important thing, readers and watchers, if you're listening and watching. Marissa has a mission, and that is to see women eliminate shame, self-doubt and self-sabotage so they can create successful brands, businesses and lives filled with happiness, unstoppable confidence, self-leadership and success. So that is a wonderful introduction. Welcome, Marissa.
Ko puki kuraro, ko pukirangi ngā maunga, ko kaipara, ko pangaruru ngā awa, ko Ngāti Whātua, Ngāti Wai, Okuiwi, ko Marissa Aho. Oh, thank you so much, Carmelle, for having me. What a beautiful introduction. It's been such a privilege I've been really excited about the conversation we're going to have today.
It is really wonderful to connect, especially I've just been sharing with my community anyway that April is such a massive time. It's the biggest month of this dragon, and it's a time where there's just so much abundance energy available universally and in our physical world. So I was just thinking, just to kick us off, I was trying to think of a good, I think I'll start with a short, my most favourite, waiata, just to bring some more high vibes into this space. So if you're listening, just close your eyes and I'll just sing us our waiata karakia. Te aroha, te whakapono, me te rangi mari e tātou e. May we have
Order. Mauri order.
So, Marissa, what are you feeling into in this year that is 2024? You've told us you've been on the most incredible journey in your life. You have come through some incredible challenges in your shadow. You've survived some intergenerational whānau patterns. You obviously have some amazing guides, ancestral guides who are with you. How do you bring all this together to bring light into our world in 2024?
Oh, beautiful question, and one that I have been simmering on probably all through March, more so than even before January. I think you know, November usually is the month for me where I do the biggest reflection, refinement, and pivots, where I kind of really settle myself energetically and also physically, mentally, and spiritually into who I want to be the following year. So I kind of did a lot of preparation in November. And my biggest goal then was to be honest, in my business, was how do I get to impact more people while still holding and honoring the health and wellness of myself. Because it's so easy as wahine Maori and in leadership roles to take on everything, you know, and to want to do it all and to really live in burnout and survival. And, you know, I just made a really big commitment to myself that 2024 was not going to look the same in terms of hitting that burnout phase. And look, there's always a time, I think, in business where you're in grit and you go, 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 and you have a certain level of pace. But yeah, I shifted into a slightly new rhythm because I wanted to come up with a better way to reach even more people. And not just wahine Maori, I am global. So, you know, it is more for me about just seeing women truly, like you shared, just really eliminate that shame and that self-doubt and sabotage, which are for me 3 of the main reasons why I held myself back for so long, for, you know, being the light that we all have available to us. And so my mission was, from a probably more strategic perspective, was how do I multiply the visibility of my mahi and my gifts so that I can impact more women, but do it in a way that really is me living into my core values. So yeah, I think that for me has been the bigger key, and that has been obviously really grinding into meaningful conversations through my podcasting. We're working towards finally getting YouTube back up and running, and really making that kind of integrational with the podcast. And just really not losing myself in the growth of success. That's one of my biggest goals. You know, the company in itself, you know, we have hit some great milestones in terms of impact and income. And I also see a lot of people in my industry lose themselves a little bit when the money starts flowing. And I just really don't. I really wanted to make that commitment this year, that how do I bring my light, staying in the real position of being the poem service while still honoring the value creation I have in this world, and just making the people that focus, and knowing and trusting in God and trusting in tupuna, that my abundance, as we all have it at our origin, is going, it's on its own timeline, and to really be in trust. Like 2024 for me is really about surrender and trust.
I love that, surrender and trust, and not easy, right?
Not easy.
A little voice in the head that's just going, you got to do this, and we were just talking, and I'd love you to share that story with people, because I think particularly for Indigenous and for Māori and Pacific women and anyone who's, you know, in tune with their ancestral lines, there's this constant kind of challenge between the whānau structures, the hapu, the wider tribe, and where we go individually. Do you want to share a little bit for you how you manage that balance? Because I think it's really, really important. You mentioned you don't just want to impact, and you don't just work with wahine Māori, although your service is built around that. But do you want to just talk a bit about how you balance the I and the we?
Yeah. I think a lot of us, particularly Māori women, you know, again, that's a generational traumatic, like it's in our bones that, you know, we need to hush our voices to not be heard so much, and also to not shine too bright. And I think that is within a whānau a lot. You know, I myself have been so blessed to meet so many talented Māori women and men, but they're just so afraid because of the patterns that follow through. And I think one of the biggest things for me, and how I managed to break through that, like the worry about what auntie might say, or what cousin might say, or what papa might say, you know, is that I connected really deeply to my vision, and I recognized that the gifts I have from tupuna that run through me on the daily are not just about 5 people, 10 people. This is on a bigger mass here. Like, this is an opportunity for me to use my gifts to really support wahine to heal. And that is at the baseline of everything I teach. I'm not, quote, a healer. I haven't got, you know, I haven't been taught a specific methodology, what I've come to recognize is that I am my tupuna's wildest dreams. And so whenever I felt that little niggly voice of worrying about whether or not I'm being too loud or too out there or too bright, or that, you know, I was concerned of what whānau might say. And believe me, they had a lot to say, especially me coming out online and being really out there and unapologetic, because I just realized that this life path and purpose I'm on is much, much bigger than the initial connections I had with whānau. And so I took the courage to have conversations with some of the people that were making me feel small and wanting to keep me there, not because they necessarily even realized that's what they were doing. I think they just, that's their protection, isn't it? It's like, that won't work. You know, don't be stupid, go get a job. Or you're being too bright, you're too loud. Why are you posting that photo? Or why are you saying this? And it became so consuming. I'd spent my whole life people pleasing. And I say, I'm done with that. Like, I just knew something greater was working through me. And especially going through all the addictions and the abuse and everything else they've gone through, I'm like, I've survived it all because I'm still here. Like, I must make the most of this life, whatever that is like. And so my biggest and first step was to really find out what it was I wanted, what really mattered to me, what is it that I really stood for, and how could I share my gifts and healing through my whakaaro and my kōrero. And that's where I started. So when I had those conversations, I had to set boundaries. And unfortunately, that meant cutting a lot of my whānau off at the beginning. I did it in a beautiful way, though. It wasn't like in an aggressive way. It was like, that's cool. You do you and let me do me. And it's taken a good decade for some of them to come back around and apologize or come back and grow. And now you're doing amazing things for wahine Māori all over Aotearoa. Like, and it's great. I'm not going to shut the door. They're whānau, right? But I think there is a way we get to step into our power and use our experiences and our skills. And we all have them, and our abilities and capabilities and passions, in a way that can really impact, because some of my closest and dearest people were strangers to me online. And they've come through as clients, and now they're like some of my closest whānau, you know. And I think it's a beautiful thing that we can hold the space for those who are willing to walk that path. But I think also remembering for all of those listeners out there, you know, should you be in business now, or should you be wanting to reclaim some financial sovereignty for yourself and your whānau, and you're scared or afraid, like, I think it's about the vision. Like, what is the bigger vision here? And letting yourself go there, like, so deep that it scares the shit out of you. Oh, excuse me, can I swear? Oh, go. But yeah, I think, you know, I don't know if that's useful, but I think it is just having that really strong pull in you that, okay, this is my vision. And even having, I think a lot of people may fail to have those conversations with the close people near them. When you catch a vision or it's gifted to you, it's not meant for someone else. So sometimes they can't grow as quickly as you in that vision. And I think it takes courage to have those conversations. I think that lacks a lot.
And do you think potentially more so, I mean, do you think it's a challenge that, you know, for some, the hapu, the tribe, is just reclaiming that lineage, then therefore makes it difficult to embrace the wairua that comes through as an individual? Because I guess I'm you know, my own experience is that we are 100% responsible for absolutely everything in our world. Like, we got to take hands up, whatever, you know, the drug addiction, the self-harm, the violence. We essentially have to, as soon as we take responsibility for that,
100%.
it just changes our relationship with it. But if you're also trying to reclaim your whakapapa, your place in the tribe, it can sometimes be very difficult to separate out the part where you take responsibility, where you know, you
Hey,
stand
that's also,
you stand in the crowd and the whole crowd is fighting for it. What do you think about that? I'm asking hard questions.
Yeah, you are asking hard questions, but that's great. That's great. I'm just going to tune into that for a minute, because that's a really big question. A great question. And when I feel into that, what I feel is that when we look at life on a much larger scale than just whakapapa and tribe, we're talking about co-creation and energy. And we're talking about, you know, this here is just our physical skin, you know, but what is it that we're accessing within ourselves beyond the limitations of the societal pressures, the whakapapa that have come before us that may not have had the resources, the wisdom, or the conversations and support that we now have in this time. And I think for me, the reclamation is the big thing. It's not I have anything to prove. It's I actually have a lineage connection here, and I'm going to learn more about my ancestral roots, and I'm actually going to take some time to understand what they went through, not so I can stand forward. I mean, there are people definitely, and I want to be careful here, fighting for the right things, but I think as individuals, when we can say, what can I bring into my experience that is full of peace and good vibes and good energy, but will also create a foundation for me that is going to stand me strong as the po of this lane of my journey, because my journey and your journey are not each other's responsibilities. It is that radical responsibility of, well, everything in my life and everything not in my life is up to me. And so when I think about how I kind of had to reclaim my whakapapa, because I was very much shaken by my identity. I had a couple of experiences which I can share quickly if you're okay with that.
Please.
But my mama is Tauiwi, Pākehā, my papa is Mauri. I grew up around the maraes with the guitars and all the things, you know, and our tikanga was always in our whare. My mama is so tikanga. And, you know, I grew up so proud to be Māori. And then I joined a kapahapa group, but because I did like makeup and I did like, I didn't speak like a Mauri. And I was a great singer back then. And I took someone's place in the front row, and I then got a hiding for it. And then
an actual hiding, isn't it?
An actual full hiding afterwards, and threatened if I were to go back, because I stole one of the main girls' positions. And so my identity from that point was very shaken. Like, I could not believe I had been hurt physically, mentally, and emotionally by my own people. And so I kind of...
It would be hard. That's hard to...
and you'd be so shocked at how many other people have stories like this. And so I really didn't know where I belonged, because I wasn't this Tauiwi white girl surf chick. You know, I still had that real inner knowing of how proud I was of our ancestors. And I knew that I was always much wiser beyond my years. And, you know, the journey I chose and the path and the experiences I chose were hard. I don't think I needed to make my life as hard as I have. But for whatever reason, I did it. And as you said earlier, I think it's allowed me to be able to relate to more beautiful wahine Māori. And so, yeah, I guess the answer to your question is that it's about your faith in the reclamation, but also taking that responsibility to learn a bit more about your whakapapa and where you come from and what it was that they went through, and not taking that on as a weight, but being able to think about it in a perspective of they are seriously, when you're stepping into your true power, like the phoenix rising from all the pain and trauma, and not letting that trauma be your anchor, instead your motivation to create something different and a different experience for our tamariki and the generations to come. I think knowing and having that real true like belief has allowed me to just stand in my power within my own way. Like, there's so much I don't know about what you know, but there's so much I know that you don't know, you know. And I think we can only see what we see. What do they say? Our perspective through our eyes is always just distorted, isn't it, by our belief system? And I think there's a lot to it scientifically and energetically. But yeah, after that period, it wasn't until I think I was about I must have been about 28 years old. So that happened when I was 14 at school. 28 years old, I got invited. That's when I was doing personal training. Sorry, it might have been 38. Sorry, just getting my numbers here. I'm 43 now.
Baby.
Must have been 38. And I was a personal trainer at Les Mills, and Māori TV approached me to do a story on me and my son. And after spending the day with them filming, one of the leaders said to me, I said, you know, I'm really embarrassed. I don't know te reo Māori. Like, I feel like I'm not Māori enough. And he said to me, you are so much more Māori than you realize. Your tikanga, your values, the way you treat people, how kind you are. And I was like, oh. And it was almost just like a little permission slip from the gods, from the universe, that I actually can be Maori without even speaking the language. And, you know, the
You need to
years
live in South Island.
I
Come to South Island. That's not even an issue.
you know what I mean?
Australia, not even an issue.
Not even. But you hear what I'm saying. And I
No,
think, I think this is where we get to choose as individuals. For all of you beautiful wahine Māori listening, you know, you get to choose your identity. You get to choose the beliefs and the practices that are going to build your muscle within yourself and your and your hinaro. And you actually get to draw a line in the sand today, which is what I make a lot of my clients do. I make them physically go out and find a beach and a stick and actually draw a sand and step over it. Because for me, healing is something we have really had to commit to in order to feel our power and our purpose and what it is that we're actually here to do and create, and not get pulled into the addictions and all the things that give us that short-term, you know, fulfillment. And I think a lot of us don't understand that we get to choose to reclaim that at any given moment. And as we go through these experiences of shame and self-doubt and self-sabotage, we create a down spiral in our beliefs and our energies. And that's kind of how we can get stuck down there a little bit. But at any point, you have the power to call that back. So go down and get a line in the sand and step over it and claim your new ways and new version of, and some of you may not know what that even looks like. You may not have even tuned into what life could be if you weren't in an addiction, or you weren't listening to what other people think, or you didn't care what people thought, and you actually trusted yourself enough to just activate that gift in you. And so I would just recommend pen to paper, journaling, you know, anything that you want to write down about claiming who you be. Like, what kind of behaviors are you going to have? What habits would you have should you be in this new version, living a great life? And bring in the money, bring in the relationships, bring it all in. Like, what are you eating? How's your posture? You know, who is she in this next version of her? And I think that's something that, you know, again, the vision. Does that answer your question? I went on a tangent.
We're going to come to that. So I just want to ask you this question. I often ask people who work with the Wairua and in that, you know, the thing about, I definitely think the lovely thing about being Māori is the blending of Wairua with the physical. It's just not a big deal, right? You know?
Not a big deal at all.
It's not a big deal. Like, whip out a karakia, whip out a, you know, like a whakawa. You know, these things are just part of us. But somebody suggested to me that we can actually call on our tipuna for any moment, like even just to help us like load the, you know, bring the
100%. I do. Oh, I got goosebumps.
Or do you just wait for the big moments?
No, I do it all the time. I mean, I don't ask them to walk in with my food shopping, but I've been in situations where I sometimes get to the end of that experience. And I'm like, my Lord, how did I walk that far? Or, you know, how did I get through that? How did I lift that thing? Like when I was a single mama, you know, raised my son, and, you know, I had to lift a fridge or move a fridge or a couch. I don't know, little things. Like, I'm always calling in that support, non-physically.
That is, but I don't know how many people are, because I think we think about this idea. You talked about it when you look back and you say, I know that I survived that time because I was being guided. But it's another thing to be consciously aware that we literally have this tribe that's, you know, 40 generations with us the whole time, and not just when a kiddo feather drops on your head, because that's my little one, which happens all the time.
Beautiful.
But you know, like, we can choose in a moment where we stand up, where we're speaking, where we're you know, there's I just wondered if in your work with other wahine and with other women, whether that's something that you can bring forward, whether that's what you bring forward with them. What is, you know, do you work with women who see that, feel that, hear that, you know, embrace that?
Beautiful question. And here's the thing about really understanding the energetics of how magnetizing you are, how much of a magnet you really are in your life in terms of frequency. And I don't want to dive too deep into it, but how I see it is
we're in the frequency. It's the 8 dive deep.
I think for me, again, I've worked with a couple of Maori healers, but I'm not a healer. But the modalities that I've practiced and how I've recognized who's present in my world. I had a gift when I was a child, and I used to see my passed over uncles and my papa, my dad's dad, Nanny Pop. But the issue was I went to a Catholic school, and I confided in one of the nuns that I was seeing, on the other side. And at that stage, that was so evil. It was not, there was no such thing in that world. So I was prayed over, and I shut my gifts down so deeply and buried them so deeply. Like, I smell things and I hear things, but I cannot get that vision back even today, even with how much practice I've done. But I also don't forget how gifted I was when I didn't have all that limitation and trauma around that. I was so open to the worlds around me. And I always had this vision of a waka. So, and me at the front, and then rowing behind me, like a whole couple hundred of them. And, since then I've had a few little middle me's, and in those healing sessions, I am told that I have over 100 of my whakapapa in the room with me every single time.
I can feel that, like they're like tapping me on the head, going like, you can't say, look behind you. And it's really interesting. So I have a question for you around that embracing of that knowledge of who's in the waka with you. How still do you get in your day, and how often?
So beautiful, this question. If you had asked me this 2 years ago, I would have said never, or very rarely. I was rebuilding my brand. I'd taken a year or so off back in 2018-19, and my life is so different now. Like, my focus at the beginning of last year was to restructure my business so that I wasn't coaching 5 days a week, that I could coach 2 days a week. I've created so much more spaciousness in my life. I don't ever use my alarm. My body wakes up when it wants to wake up. She goes to sleep. I read a lot more books. That's another mission of mine this year, is to read.
Love it. You're listening, read books, everyone. This is how you.
I mean, I've always listened to audio, but and I've been quite resistant about holding a book and finishing. It's not been something I always ever. I mean, my family fell apart at 10, so I didn't really have that kind of read at 9 and go to bed, like. But yeah, I'm really enjoying that spaciousness and so much stillness. I'm a plant mum now, so my son's just turned 15 in January. I only have one son. My partner, my tāne, can't have any more children, so there will be no more tamariki at this stage unless we adopt later on. And so I've become a plant mum. So the stillness I get, oh my God, I love spending time with my plants. They're my babies. Like, I go around every morning and talk to them and water them and nurture them. And then I go around at lunchtime, give them a little kiss. And, like, the stillness and the rhythm of my life is so different. So I spend a lot of time in stillness. I breathwork every morning, just short, maybe 5 minutes. And maybe once every fortnight, I'll do a longer journey, maybe half an hour.
Is that with your eyes closed or with open?
Always. Yeah. I always have my earpods in, and I get very comfortable. I need to lie down. I like to lie down. I don't force, like, my breath work. The way I was taught was, and it is a globally recognized certification, but the lady that leads it is Shannon Rose, and she is also a past client of mine, but she has over 7 or 8 years of major global experience. And the way she's also integrated Te Māori into learning the benefits of breath and healing. She doesn't, it's not a forced, there's no real crazy, it's like you can do a gentle down regulation to really bring your nervous system into, regulation. You can do an up regulation, breath work, which of course I can share a couple of things around that for those listeners if you want. But
everyone loves a breath, because when I was writing my book, I did some research, and only 5% of the population breathe consciously. So breathing is consciousness. So you can gauge your frequency, your vibration, your level of awareness by how you're consistently breathing. So most of us are like here.
Up here. Wearing your shoulders as earrings.
So yeah, share your breath. What's your favorite? Like, if you're
my favorite is down regulation breathing. Okay. Because I have a freaking high functioning nervous system. It's been in survival for over 30 decades. And I was diagnosed with high functioning anxiety at age 17. then doing drugs afterwards didn't help. And, you know, I can't even explain how exhausting it was walking through life constantly anxious. And if you're out there and you do suffer that anxiety where it's in your belly or tight in your chest, I'm telling you, breathing is the answer. I know some people may need medication. I was on medication for 12 years, but it was breath that actually helped me come off it. It was actually not breath work. You know, that's kind of a more common, newer thing. Mine was yoga, just understanding the movement and somaticness of my body and how the breathing. I don't think for probably 25 years did I breathe into my belly. I was a chest breather. I always had pain around my neck and shoulders. I always was overthinking, like all my energy and breath was up above here on my boobies. And so what you're saying about just taking 5 minutes a day, you don't have to do anything like nasty, but you can just lie on your back. And I like to put my hands on my belly so I can really focus my energy and breath down there. And I think it's the tiha, you know, and I visualize cycling it up through my womb, up and, you know, past my sacral and into my heart, you're on my way, and up through my hanging navel, and then, you know, out there. And it's just kind of cycles. So I just breathe slowly. So it's in the mouth, like, and then, so it's not forced breath out, because if you too much, you'll probably pass out. So lying down on your back also means you're not focusing on sitting up and holding your shoulders. So you're kind of just letting gravity and Papa Tuanuka hold you. And it just hands on my belly or on your belly, closing your eyes and just really feeling the presence of you. And this is where you can get to invite your tupuna in. This is where you can get to invite your guides, your angels, God, whoever, whatever you believe in, you know, as long as you have faith in something greater than you. And, you know, be prepared to just breathe normally first. So you're not forcing anything. Breath, it shouldn't be forced, like meditation, right? I meditate more in the shower and when I'm running than if I do sometimes sitting under a tree. So find your rhythm in your breath and just see and notice, where am I breathing into right now? Am I in my upper lungs where I'm feeling tight? Or is it hard for me to blow my belly out like a balloon? You know, because I think a lot of people don't even understand what it means to breathe into your belly. But it's also drawing that breath back into your diaphragm. And when you know, so you're inhaling, blowing the belly out, and then as you release, you're drawing the belly in, like really that strength and expansion of your diaphragm, which is, you know, this area down here. So I would just breathe 10 rounds. So
I love the way you, it's like a serpent.
Yeah, it's
like moving the whole.
Open. Oh, I'm like a snake when I do my breath work.
Yeah, I can see that. You're just like.
Yeah, it's just like I feel it, because what is in the nervous system? It's up your spine, right? Although we're breathing into the front area of our, well, we feel like we're breathing into our lungs and our breath, that's actually expanding the spine, and it's expanding, you know, the connection between our bones and our spine. And the nervous system is what is impacted so deeply by our overthinking and all the trauma we've had, and it's what will cause so many illnesses. So breath is the most safest proven healing modality in the world at this time.
Yeah, it is. It's very interesting you raise that, because I think I got to challenge you. You definitely are a healer, but then everyone is their own healer. You are a healer. Like you are your own healer, and I think that's what I teach people to remember, is that we all heal naturally anyway. We just, like, every breath that's deep, every time we sleep, every time we eat a really good kai with our whānau, you know, that's healing.
Yes. Look, I totally hear you and I agree. Yeah, and I appreciate that feedback. But yeah, I do absolutely own that, and I claim that. You know, it's not about me being a healer. It's like what another person can experience in the capacity that we share that. You know, and, that definitely elevates their healing process, and that is a beautiful. But yeah, so you can do that breathing. Just for those who are listening and interested, just do 10 rounds, then 20 breaths, and then back to 10 breaths. And just feel into it. And if you decide you want to try that every day for a week, then maybe you can increase that from 10 breaths, then take a pause, feel what you're feeling. Like after I've done 20 breaths, like really like, and remember, just let that ha. And I start to go like this. I've got so much energy in my body. It looks like
it's really so with the deep breathing. I heard an interview. It might have just been on Radio New Zealand, but this guy, he did 20 deep breaths, like as you say, just standing up, and then he fell to the ground, held his breath, and did 36 push-ups. And you're a personal trainer, so I'd love to know how many you can do.
Oh my God. I was
full push-ups, full body, because that's if you are oxygenated.
I don't know how many I could do now. Because I haven't done personal training for maybe 6-7 years. That was my personal training and yoga teaching was what really brought my comfort out to be seen again, to be heard, because I was so confident in how I shifted from an unhealthy tinana addictions into a personal trainer, leading others to like find their way. And then of course my business has developed because I then have further educated in NLP. And also, obviously, I'm not a psychologist yet, but I, have done countless hours of study and would, still considering whether I want to go and do that. But, I think it's, for me, oh God, I used to probably be able to do 50. I did body sculpting competitions. I was so strong and healthy.
You should try it, because this guy had done nothing ever. He was just like a total couch potato.
Yeah.
He did 20 deep breaths, and for anyone.
Was he standing? Because that's really unsafe. Don't ever do breathwork in stools.
I think he was no, but it gets better, because after he'd done the deep breaths, he threw himself on the ground. He held his breath. Pushed out 36. So
it doesn't surprise me, because like I said, if I get into that like third round of breathing, I feel so, I can't describe it. You feel tingles, and my body is literally, because what a lot of people don't realize is we have 9 football fields in diameter around us in energy. Like we can impact 9 football fields in diameter, whether we're angry and pissed off or happy and joyful. Like that is going to be like that drop in the water with that ripple, like, and so while you're breathing, you're cycling into this field and the ethers of something that's beyond your physical.
And connecting with all your ancestors, and they're giving you a massive hug, and you can you can pick up some really good messages, which is way more interesting than sitting there stressing about what you're going to do in the day, don't you think?
I totally agree. Always, I think they worry, you may have a question around that, so I won't go into that, but just the amount of us who worry about what hasn't yet happened and overthinking, and I mean, gosh, that's a never-ending journey to calm the mind.
So I'm going to ask you another question now. So if we are not our thoughts or our ancestors' thoughts or our feelings, if we are just the awareness of being, we had this little discussion just before about visioning, and I'd really love, because if you're listening, you're getting all of these little gems from Marissa, who is such a healer, such a teacher, such a wise woman, such a incredible, you've had incredible life experience. If you were just say you've done your breathing and you want to bring something more that helps you into this kind of, brings you bigger, makes you connect into more of your power, standing your confidence, what can people do with setting a vision for themselves?
Beautiful. Okay, I love this, because vision integration is one of the main things that I do with my clients at the beginning. It's not about the strategy. Strategy is only 20%. So the amount of times that I speak to women in working in Mauri, and they are like, I wouldn't have a clue, because I haven't ever really imagined what that might feel like. It's been so hard, as wahine, especially at this age, it's been a difficult path, no, not one human I know has not got a beautiful story like mine. Like, some people, especially if you're still here today and you're listening, like you have overcome some incredible experiences, and your resilience, I just want to remind you, is incredible, and you can, achieve anything. So what I would recommend is sit quietly, and just, it doesn't matter where you're sitting. You can be on a business chair, on the floor, outside. Put on a beautiful soft music, maybe not with words. I feel like sometimes words can be quite distracting, but some of my nice meditation music. I call it visioning, future visioning. And so what I would do is I would recommend, again, just taking a few breaths to just drop into your body, just to really ask to just calm your mind and make this exercise quite fun, okay? I want you to then imagine you're floating up out of your body and looking back down at yourself. And I always guide people to just give themselves a smile and really acknowledge how freaking amazing they are and beautiful, because I think that's something that's
That's new.
So to look at yourself, like imagine floating up as the widower that you are and looking back at yourself and your physical, sitting there and just smiling at yourself like, damn, I'm hot as fuck and I'm beautiful and I've done such an amazing job to be here today. And, you know, even with all the shadows that we walk in, and sometimes the pain we cause other people, not meaning to, sometimes meaning to, is like, we didn't know better. We know what we know with what we've got. So just giving yourself a minute to forgive yourself, I think, before you go on this new fun journey towards something different. And then I would recommend you float, okay, over maybe the next 12 months. So you can float January, February, March, April, May, June, whatever it is. And when you land in this new timeline, it's like landing exactly who it is that she is. So maybe what's she doing in the morning? What kind of practices is she going? Like what kind of people is she hanging out with? Who's next to her when she wakes up? What's she getting dressed into that day? How's her posture? What's in her bank account when she opens her bank account? Like what's the mahi she's doing? Is she stepping on a plane? Is she stepping on a stage? Is she actually just sitting with some tamariki? Is she out there building a whenua and a marama? Like what is it that she's doing that's filling her soul, that's making her happy? And what are you eating? What are you tasting? Because the thing about visioning, now I am a massive fan of Joe Dispenza, and I don't know if any of you have heard of him, but he's got a beautiful way of explaining the coherency of your brain and your body, your nervous system, what memory your body speaks to your brain, and how we can co-create a different life for ourselves by visioning through an experience that hasn't yet occurred. And so when we are doing this vision process, 5 minutes, 3 to 5 minutes, and literally, like, don't hold back. Like, if you love a good car or a beautiful home, like, allow yourself to go there. If you want to book business class tickets with your whānau somewhere, or you want to take your whole whānau to Rarotonga, like, allow yourself to just go and see where this little moment takes you. You might find that you're in there for 15 minutes and it might feel like a minute. But when you come back out the way you came, come back into your body. And then when you finish your little moment, get your pen and paper and write it out. What did you experience? Because here's the thing, if you've gone there, that is possible for you. It then is about you trusting in that vision and connecting to it every single day, even when shit feels hard, even when things don't feel like they're going to plan, even when contrasting things in your life happen.
Because the irony, and sorry to interrupt you,
no, you're fine.
The irony is that we are all envisaging the bad shit.
Yeah.
Our whānau, our trauma, colonization trauma, our lack of the reo, our lack of connection into our whānau, our addiction. We've been doing that for so long, which is why they're in our lives, right? So we're happy with creating negative, life-repeating experiences.
Yes. Yep.
But as soon as you say that we could equally just envisage a beautiful, positive, affirming self-experience, then it becomes imaginary. I don't get the difference. That's
but it's so far out of reach for some of us. It was for me at once, and it will be for some of you listening. It's so far from what we have experienced and what is possible, but this is where you have to come back to your mindset. And if you're not in a position to join a coach or any type of mentorship guidance or get healing, like there is so much available on YouTube for free. I have lots of free stuff that I've got free little ebooks that I can offer. You just need to find me on Instagram, but I'm sure you'll ask me that later. But there's so many resources out there that can support you to be a better person. I couldn't afford coaching when I first wanted to be a different person. I decided to go learn yoga. And that was my first stepping stone into healing myself. And then I started to reconnect to my whakapapa. And I started to learn more about the lineage of my ancestors and what my mum went through and what my mother's mother went through and what my papa went through and what my grandfather went through. And, you know, just understanding that that was their journey and experience. And based on what they knew, they did the best they could. But we're not in that experience. We don't have to repeat. We don't have to do that. I get there's all the real stuff and the politics and governments, and I'm not going to get into that, but you still don't have to choose.
Don't bring the vibe down, just say.
No, but my point is that you don't have to be consumed by that. You can, and you do have the power to create worlds around you.
But also, I just say to people, if you can look at what you're manifesting from your life around you now, know you are a powerful manifester.
Oh, yeah.
It's just that we all learn to manifest in the negative.
Negative.
We
Yeah.
learn to focus on what we don't like, and everything that we do like just remains separate from us. So when I read your bio that you survived drug and alcohol addiction, self-harm, a mass overdose, domestic violence, teen pregnancy, and bullying in your life. First thing I think to myself is, whoa, now that's a super manifester.
Well, again,
yeah, you did it. Those are big things. Like, some people just live in the suburbs.
Yeah.
And manifest the job their entire life. Like those, as if you can take the good and the bad out of them, they're shocking experiences. But
yeah. I went there. I wanted to go and experience everything, I think, in this life. And I went all the way. I went to the point my heart stopped on that overdose. I should not have been alive. The doctor said to me that day when I woke up, you should not be here. Your will to live is stronger than your will to die. Don't let me see you back here again. That's when everything changed for me. So yeah, I experienced death in a way. And when I came back for my rebirth, and please, I'm not encouraging anyone to go and experience that, but for whatever your experiences may have been, like, please, the one message I really want to remind you of is that you can change. Like, it might take time, but you can change. You can heal and build a beautiful life here. Like, they can be coexistent. I think a lot of people will go down a healing journey and get so caught up in, but I'm healing, but at the same time, time is passing you. And I don't think healing ever stops.
Healing never stops. But neither does creativity. That's the thing.
Never.
Remember that. Healing and creativity, they're the two sides of the coin. Like, you cannot, they're just natural things. And I think we put so much, we just take it all so seriously. And
yes.
You have to be able to make fun of your trauma. Like,
I think so. I know that sounds like really wild to some of you, but it is at some point, when am I going to stop being a victim to my experiences? And I'm not saying, and it is, you may find this as a spiritual guide, and guru and what you teach, but I think when we say to someone, you're responsible, am I responsible for being raped at 13? Am I responsible for my parents bashing me? Am I responsible for this and this? Well, there's got to be some level of experience that you've called in on a spiritual level, yes, but that does not identify you. You are not your feelings or emotions. And I think that's something people forget. Like, at your origin, you are whole, complete, and fully abundant. And it's only through these experiences and through our DNA and through what we got through our mama and her womb that we carry these habits or deep-rooted patterns. But at some point, as you start to become more conscious to these things, this is where you have the power to change it. Like, I don't have to be a victim to that anymore. When I decided to talk more about my experiences, and especially coming out saying, I was on P and all this, I was a white-collar corporate, just saying it out loud and claiming that I'm human. And I guess in this mahi that I do, I get to work with the humans, and everybody has such, like, you would be so shocked at how many people have been through what you've been through, but not shocked. Do you know what I mean? You're not actually the only one. So at what point are you going to use this experience as the reason for you to step more into your purpose? Like, that is how I teach.
I think that is probably the most, thank you so much for sharing that, because it's really your ability to see that life experience that was really difficult at the time, but the way that you view it now, that's your power. And that, I think, is what we share in our teaching with people, is it doesn't matter what has happened to you, because for a start it's happened.
Yes.
What will happen, it's your attitude towards it, and it's your desire to kind of play with it in a way. Because I always say this to people, even with our physical origin, you've got to remember we're all galactic beings as well.
Mm.
And there's a whole, we've got all this galactic, this universal, spiritual, however you want to phrase it.
Yeah.
We're all children of God, right?
And
At the end of the
100%.
day.
100%.
And it doesn't matter what happens. Nothing's going to take that away. We are all part of this field.
And that's the thing, I think, like you talked about, making it more fun and having more playfulness in life. And that's probably another goal you asked me earlier, what's for 2024? I want to enjoy the work I do and do it for fun. I want to be able to, not have to feel stressed when I wake up that I have to get this many clients, or I have to do this, or I just want to show up and honestly look after myself and be healthy and happy and keep a peaceful environment and good people in my life, and then do the mahi that I love. Like, and really just play with that. And what does that look like? And know that maybe I'll put this offer out, or maybe I'll run this course and it won't work out. And oh, well, I tried. Next, what's next? And kind of treating it more like that, a bit of a different rhythm. Spent way too much of my life worrying,
Really beautiful. That is really a reality check on reality.
Yeah.
I, Marissa, you have shared so many gems, and if I think about the three things that I heard were do some more breathing,
Yeah.
do some more visioning, and maybe not take everything so seriously. And those are themes that I think we can all pick up in our own way. And so the best way for people to get in touch with you is your beautiful Instagram. Is that correct?
Yeah, well, you can Instagram or Facebook. Instagram is I am Marissa Lewis. I've just changed it. And Facebook is just Marissa Lewis in Auckland. And
you also have your podcast. The name of your podcast, for anyone listening, the podcast is called?
Yep. So it's called Grace Through the Fire. And that is available on all podcasts, Spotify, Apple, and we've just released our episode 31. So really excited. There's some beautiful conversations in there. And please don't ever feel afraid to send me a message if you enjoy a conversation, or you have any questions on how you can work with me, or my free community group, which is Sisterhood, which is on Facebook. I'm open. My door's open.
That's awesome. And I'd also just like you to talk a little bit, just in case anyone's listening, and I'll leave the links below, about your academy, because it's got the coolest name, so we have to share it.
Yes. Oh, thank you. Yes. So I have obviously been in this mahi teaching guidance on mindset, energy, breathing, sales, marketing, branding, business. And I finally, at the beginning of this year, collated a beautiful digital access membership. So people can obviously purchase to be a member. And there's over 40 uploaded videos in there across all those categories, all between half an hour and an hour long. So, and it's some of the best education I've ever delivered in what I teach. And it would absolutely help support you to create new and develop new perspectives and skills on unstoppable confidence and self-leadership to potentially, in your brand, to start a business, to take your creative ideas or passions and turn it into a money pathway income. And you also, for that, you get a year access. So although you could probably watch the videos within 12 weeks, I do live hot seat coaching once a month, and anyone can have a voice at the table. They can come to the Zoom, and I just hot seat coach. So you learn something from everyone else's questions. So it's a beautiful opportunity for you. And it's one of our best price points for the value that you get. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. And it's called UCA, which is the Ultimate Confidence Academy.
That's a great name. And I was just trying to think if there's anything else that I've left. Is there anything else that I've left out in terms of a touch point if people want to connect, or,
Yeah, well, obviously you can email me too as well at marissa@marissalewis.com. And yeah, we can always just let you know what all our services are. And I do private coaching. At the moment I'm at capacity, but I do have some clients rolling out. So yeah, depending on what it is you're looking for, go check it out and see if you vibe with me.
Oh, the retreats. Don't forget the retreat.
Oh,
You're
the
going to have some retreats this year?
Yes,
for people
sorry,
that go deep?
so I have 2 retreats that I run. One is a one-day woman in business leadership event. The other one is called Connect Aotearoa Retreat, New Zealand, and that is a beautiful luxury transformational business retreat. And that, yeah, look, you may not be in business, but you may be in a career and you're wanting to understand how you might be able to bring your skills and all your value and package it up to be able to have an online income or an online business or build a brand. We do a lot of healing there. I bring in another level of leadership as well. So I do have guest facilitators who come in as well. But it is an amazing luxury retreat this year in November. We still have 7 spaces available. And yeah, it's very much a healing, transformational, educational retreat, but you are going to get so spoiled. We have catering by a Mauri chef, and they bring in all the rongoa as well as all the yummy salmons and all the things that you love, all those luxury foods. But the venue is up north in Rāwhiti, and we do offer payment plans as well if it's something you might be interested in.
Wow, well, there's a lot. And
I know.
and it was a really beautiful interview. Thank you for sharing some of your powerful teaching techniques with us. And in the fashion that I like to end with Manifestors Unite, I like to leave the ceiling of this offering. If you're listening, don't switch off just now. I'm going to leave the ceiling to Marissa to close us for this special time we've had here today, and just want to thank everyone for listening, and thank you, Marissa.
Oh,
it's all yours.
thank you so much. Did you want me to do a karakia?
If you want to, or if you want to sing, you can do anything you like, darling. You seal us off in the way you are called, or your ancestors call.
Okay, I will karakia, but I will read it because I'm still learning. So this is a beautiful karakia i te koa. So kia tau mai ki runga I a tātou te wairoa o a tātou tūpuna, kia tika, te noho, rangi mārie, kia mutu pai, te rā, kia wātia, I ngā here katoa, ki roto, I te tika, Mauri ora.
Mauri ora. Ka nui te whai.
Ka kite, everybody.
Ka kite.